Today, we would like to share three projects that are as follows. The first one will be presented by Guadalupe Ruiz Fajardo, and the title of the project is Columbia Corpus of Spanish Conversations. I'm going to introduce the project itself, and then we can hopefully switch to the actual presentation, after which there will be a few minutes for Q&A. So the Columbia Corpus of Spanish Conversations is an open website that contains a repertoire of video recordings of natural conversations among Spanish speakers also with transcriptions and classroom activities to teach interactional competence. The campus project grant has been expanded or has been used to expand an ongoing work with the addition of 17 new clips of speakers from the Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, Colombia, Peru, and Cuba. It is important to note here that this is a project that has been in development for a couple of years now. It is incredibly useful. It's good to see it being expanded, elaborated on, and enriched with these new additions. The recordings, these new additions include Afro descendants and indigenous speakers, and all clips are accompanied by a transcript and classroom activities. So this is kind of what the project entails, and to hear more about the details, I will pass the floor over to Wada, who is the chief person responsible for the development.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I would like to start expressing my gratitude to the LRC, and especially to you guys, Piero, Stefan, and Simon, for your help in the process, and for, of course, for giving us the opportunity to present today too. Actually, I don't know if I should talk, because Simon put it very well, everything, and he actually summarized what the project is about. And so I'm thinking that the only thing I would like to expand a little bit is that this project has this general objective, as he said, of being a resource to teach interactional competence through interactional practice, actually, which is going to the abstract idea of concept of interactional competence to actual interactional practice for the language classroom. Okay, and how do we do this? We do this just with video clips that are actual, that show actual conversation between or among proficient speakers of Spanish. And these conversations have been recorded by some of us, some of the team, sometimes some graduate students as assistants before, by me, many of them, just approaching people or families sometimes, and asking them to let me record those conversations, and with no script, no indications about how what are they supposed to talk about or anything like that. It's just these people just talking as they were talking before I approached them. And these are obviously a material that is really hard to use in the class. It's not something that it's not the kind of material in which you just open your textbook and just go on in the page that you left the day before. You need a lot of training, and not only you as an instructor, but also the students, because it's difficult, because it's real life. It has noise, it has people that doesn't speak as your grammar book is supposed to speak. It's real conversation, and they speak fast. So, and I'm going to show you a little bit the project, the site that we have developed, and then I'm going to pass to let the students talk about the work that they have done. So let me see if I can share my screen. Yes, here it is. Can you see the site, or as my students usually see, they only see a picture of my cat. I don't know why. It's the site, is it? Okay, right. So this is the site, which is EduBlog, very, very easy to use and very easy to update for me too. It has in English and Spanish, a general introduction about how it works. And also we have another part, which is called Antes de Empezar, and is before starting to use it, and is some indications, especially for listening comprehension, which is so challenging for the students. And we have the clips organized by the level, which is here, and it follows the Common European Framework and also the ACTFL levels here, as you can see. And we have also some clips for a specific purpose, for tourism and med students and stuff like that. We also organize those clips by the number of participants. We have tags for countries of origin, professions. As you can see, we have many. And we also have the relationships among the participants. We have friends, colleagues, family, etc., and neighbors. And also this huge range of conversational topics. We also have this search engine that allows you to look for a specific feature. I'm going to show you the elementary level, for which we have 5 clips now. And these people is just, for instance, greeting each other. They're talking about an application for the cellular. These guys are talking about going to the movies, this kind of things. And for instance, let's go to see this one, and I'll show you how it organized. So we have the video, which is it's actually a YouTube account, which is linked to the website. And we have a short description of the video, which is very important because it's wakes up the cognitive scenario for understanding. And we have the transcript, which use only orthographic, regular transcript, no CA stuff, no conversational analysis, which could be confusing for the students. And also we have a list, it's followed by a list of conversational features, like tips for turn taking, or to end a turn, to address the following speaker, things like that. And also, which is very, very important, activities for the classroom. Step by step, what you are supposed to do, what you can do to bring this thing for the classroom, to the classroom, okay? And this is mostly how this work is organized. We had two other goals of pedagogic objective in mind, which is one is to, as I said, is to teach interaction and competence, but also one is to provide authentic input. And as you can see, it is, but we also have the idea of provide with example of non-standard varieties of Spanish. Non-standard, well, this is not the right word to say. It's non-peninsular varieties of Spanish. The textbook in Spanish, because of the majority of the publishing houses are from Spain, from peninsular Spain. I mean, from Spain, are Spaniard. They usually present mostly people, speakers from the Iberian Peninsula. And it's very important that we show, I think it's very important, given the variety and the extension of Spanish in the world, it's really important that we present people from other dialects and sociolects and everything. So this is what we wanted to do with this. And for this, with this objective in mind, Ramon and Juan has been working with clips that include African descendant speakers and also indigenous from Peru, mostly indigenous speakers from Peru. This is really rare. In the most, I don't know what happened in your languages, but for the most part, if you see an Afro-descendant or indigenous person in a textbook, it's just in that pages, the multiculti, we call the multiculti pages, you know, and which have a few tokens, but in the regular lessons, you don't see those, okay? So I think it's the work that Ramon and Juan have done is really important for the extension and to address the call for inclusive teaching, okay? Well, and now Ramon, if you want to go ahead and give us, got the floor.
Well, thank you so much, Guadalupe. Thank you for the opportunity that you gave me to take part into this project. I was collaborating with Guadalupe last year as well. Well, the previous year, I think, at the beginning of last year, only doing the transcription of other videos that I didn't record it. But then during the past semester, thanks to the Language Teacher and Learning Center, we were also able to have some meetings and to discuss some tips to do a better recording and to take into account when recording these clips. So I would like to add that the clips I did are actually, they were made in Mexico, which is a country that was not part of the recordings in terms of country so far. So the recordings I did were taken in Chiapas and Jalisco, two different states in Mexico. And yeah, all the advice from the Center of Teaching and Learning was really helpful when doing the recordings and when deciding what to consider in terms of technical difficulties, and also about what to consider in terms of the length of the video and how to do a really impromptu conversation, because that's what we want with this type of videos. That is something that is very natural, that is not orchestrated, kind of planned or with a script. It's something natural, a conversation that happens in a very natural way, setting. So I will show you one of the clips. I mean, the clips I did consider different topics and people. They talk about art, for example, professions, also about wedding, what happened in the wedding, and friends, conversations among friends, and also the one that I'm going to show you today. It's a conversation also between two friends, which are, whom, I mean, they're having conversation in the New Year's Eve. In the New Year's Eve about dinner, about how to celebrate the beginning of the new year, and also about all the challenges that the pandemic brought to their lives and businesses. So they were both working in San Cristóbal de las Chiapas, Mexico. One of them is a chef, Heriberto, and the other is a fashion designer, an indigenous woman who is a fashion designer, and she also has her own clothing store. So most the videos are 5 minutes length, 5 minutes, around 5 minutes. And I will show you first just a small part of the video, like 1 minute or something like that. And then I will show you the script and some of the activities and notes that I consider important into these activities, into this project. So first of all, I will show you the video. So let me share the screen. 1 second, please. Okay, so I will share the screen. And this is important to say as well that this video, I did it, and then I did some very small corrections of the background noise and also the brightness of the video as well, thanks to some advice that that we were all considering last semester with the technical support of the center. So I will show you the screen now, and let's see how to do the complete screen. I don't know how, but okay, here. So I will play now.
No creo poder hacer nada. Bueno, hoy estoy cumpliendo 10 años de casado con Saraí. Ahorita solamente vamos a entregar unas cenas que nos pidieron unos clientes. Y pues estar en casa, porque ya terminamos también un poco cansado de todo este mes que estuvo un poquito con mucha actividad. Entonces yo creo que descansar, un vinito, a lo mejor una pizza y ver Netflix nada más.
Es día de amor también.
Día de amor también.
So it's just a small part of the video. As you can see, the noise, the background noise that was present, it's kind of blurred. So it's a very good quality of it's very clear, everything what they say. And I would consider this like an intermediate advanced, intermediate Spanish conversation about, in this case, about what they're gonna do that eve, which is December 31st, 2020. So now I will show you also, sharing the screen, I will show you the script, the transcription, and some of the information that we consider here. So let's see. So here is a transcription, and as you can say, as already Guadalupe mentioned, we give a small information about the settings, who they are and everything, and then the conversation with each intervention numbered, and also with with all if there's an interruption, then it becomes another line, another conversation point, let's say. And then if there's some laughings or some other things like in a play, we also consider that. And then at the end of this, I did the notes, some notes to clarify, for example, what the means, for example, similar to aha, which is just to confirm something, or some expressions like ahorita, which means like right now in Spanish as well, because it has some varieties. It could be ahorita, it could be ahorita, or something like that. And then some idiomatic expressions as well that are important. And then some proposed activities for these. In this case, I proposed 3 activities. One, which is to give to recount or to talk about the activities that a person has done in the year, during the year, or during the past month or week, or using different past grammar tenses, like past simple, imperfect, or something like that. As a second activity, interview another person. First do the personal one, and then interview another person, and then the third one to practice pretérito pluscuamperfecto, which is in English, I don't know what's in English. I wrote it present perfect, and to practice different tenses in the past in Spanish. So that would be it. It's just an example of one of the conversations I recorded and the transcriptions I did for the project of Guadalupe. Thank you.
Thank you, Ramon. Thank you. I'm gonna play because we don't have. I love the conversation, that one, which is the beer. You know, it's so natural and so uncommon to teach a class with that kind of thing. So, and now I'm gonna play the video by Juan. And well, let me share my screen again. It's gonna be very short too. It's only 4 minutes. And I don't know if this is a challenge because I want you to play the video, to listen to him, but I also want to show you images of the videos that he is talking about. So be patient, okay? After 2 semesters of Zoom, I'm not sure if I can do this. Let's see.
Hi.
Oh, sorry. I need to, hold on. Something. Can share some. Okay, no.
My name is Juan David Cadena Otero. I'm a student at the PhD in the Latin American and Iberian Cultures Department. And I got the chance to participate with Professor Guadalupe Ruiz in this project for a corpus of conversations in Spanish. I really appreciated the experience. She asked me to describe a little bit the materials I worked with and what I got out of the participation in the project. Well, I really like the materials to begin with. I wanted to focus on 2 different videos I worked with. They both were located at the Atlantic coast in Colombia. The first one of them was started by 3 middle-aged fishermen talking in the front of a house. I think they were just sitting there and talking about their town. And the other video was started by much younger people from the Atlantic coast, and in this case it was 6 young men from the Atlantic area in Colombia. And, well, both videos were from the same region, but they each had a distinctive flavor because you got to experience like 2 wholly different generations, even though it's the same region. I really liked how immersive the materials were, how authentic they are.
Oh.
Like they almost take you to the place where they are located. Like you get an actual.
I'm sorry, you cannot hear Juan? Can you see him or not? What are you seeing?
We couldn't see him, but we could hear everything. So
Did you see the images or not?
we didn't see the images,
Oh,
but
okay.
we heard everything. So I think it's fine. Actually, right now we were seeing the images of the video that he's talking
Okay,
about.
okay.
Mhm.
Oh, I'll play it again. No, not from the beginning. I'll go on with this. Okay, thank you.
Flavor of the culture and the region. So that was fabulous for me because you don't often get that from language materials. And I really appreciated that about Professor's Guadalupe's project. And I was really happy to I actually get to be involved in these conversations because, yeah, like they provide actual communicative material. You see real life interactions. You get a reading out of them. Like you actually get a vibe and a pace. Like you get an idea of how the town works, and you even get like a view of social issues, and not just like a superficial one. Like you get insights into the actual life and experiences of people in town. So it was like a really nice experience. It got me to realize how language materials can be way more engaging than we usually think. And I was really happy to get a chance to collaborate with these materials and to have my name included in this corpus, because it was really, really gratifying to, just get to interpret these conversations. And they are so complex that every time you get to see the materials, you actually perceive new things. So I thought it was a fabulous idea by Professor Guadalupe, and I will be really happy to ever be involved in a corpus of this nature again, because it's just a wonderful way to build up learning materials. So I just wanted to say that it was a very immersive experience in what comes to the Atlantic region of Colombia, and I will definitely recommend these materials for my students. Many of them are involved in Spanish learning as well, so I've actually recommended this corpus in the past, and I will recommend it in the future. So yeah, I just wanted to express how gratifying it was and how imaginative it is, for the area of language learning. So thank you, and I hope you get to appreciate the corpus yourselves as well. So have a nice day. Thank you for hearing me out.
These guys are very nice, as you can see. So this is it. And also, I just little thing that I would like to add. This is not only for the teaching of language, but the teaching of language and culture. Many of the videos have been used not only for this, but for the language program, from elementary to intermediate level, but also for other type of classes, because they include, as the student said, very interesting documents about the life and insights about how the lives and society in Latin America works. And we have also some clips from the States also, made in Brooklyn, in Harlem, and places like this. So that's it. If you have any question, I don't know if we have time for questions, but in case you have, please.
Thank you, Guada. We do not have time for questions, unfortunately.
You took my time actually at the beginning. We were waiting.
But if you can,
no, please, I'm gonna put my email in case you have any questions.
Perfect.
I will appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you, Guada. Thank you, Ramon. I think Ramon already left. So just a few things. Guada's email. Let me just move this. Whoops. Hold on a second. I'm running into some technical difficulties here myself. Okay, here we go. And perfect. Okay, so yes, if you have questions, we may be able to address some of them after we are done with our presentations. In the meantime, if they're pressing, feel free to direct them via email at Guada. But if you can also insert the link to the repository into the chat, I think a lot of people will appreciate that. Our next presenter is Zhongqi Shi from the Department of East Asian Literatures and Cultures, and he is an instructor of the Chinese language. And the title of his project is Listen and Learn, Using Academic Podcasting to Support Foreign Language Learning. His presentation will showcase how to design and implement a series of podcasts to provide a useful study aid and create an enriched language exposure for students enrolled in a language course. Students' feedback and the instructor's self-reflection will also be shared with the audience. And so as not to overextend it, I'm just gonna go ahead and mute myself and pass the floor on to Zhongqi.
Thank you, Simon. Thank you, everyone. Can everyone see my PowerPoint all right? Okay, great. Okay, so thank you everyone for coming. And today I'm going to speak about how I designed and made a podcast series for my advanced business Chinese class. This was an exploratory project, but it actually produced many interesting findings for future research and experiment, which I will share in just a minute. Okay. So just a little bit background. So what got me interested in doing such a project? The reason was very simple. My students just don't listen to Chinese enough. Okay. This is not just my observation or speculation. Okay. So last year, before I began this project, I surveyed 9 students enrolled in the course and asked them, in the past month, how often do you listen to Chinese audio materials or any audio materials in Chinese? And 4 students out of 9 said never, never, or less than once per week. So to me, the lack of practice of listening was worrisome, because as we all know, listening is essential to any language learning. Why don't they spend time listening? I also ask them. I let them choose from a variety of possible reasons, and they could also write their own answers. So for those who said they never listened or less than once per week, their responses were very consistent. They all choose, I can't find appropriate listening materials. This is not surprising, and I believe this is probably the #1 reason that our students attribute to their lack of practicing listening. So my basic reason for this project was to make them spend more time on listening. And why would I choose podcasts as a means to deliver the listening materials? Why couldn't I just make some recordings, post them on Canvas, and ask them to listen? Well, I think podcasts have many benefits over the traditional ways. For example, podcasts are convenient to listen to. You can download lessons from the podcast providers, any provider, or listen to them on your phone, tablets, or computer. And you can listen to you can listen to them on the go with podcasts. You can listen while you are doing other things. For example, you can learn. You can listen to them while walking the dog, or cleaning the house, or making dinner. And also, according to research, podcasts have been shown to be helpful to maintain students' interest and motivation towards foreign language learning. Okay. And also nowadays, even though English podcasts are everywhere online, but Chinese podcasts, especially those for Chinese language learners, are just beginning to get up and running. So I wanted to give it a try. I want to see whether there would be some changes happening to my students because of listening to the podcasts. Okay. Now I'm going to fast forward to show you the end products, and then I will circle back to talk about how I created them. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing my PowerPoint and jump to the podcast. Give me a second. Now I'm screen mirroring my cell phone. Okay. Right. I believe everyone can see my cell phone, right? Right. Okay. So this is the podcast I made. I use Spotify as a carrier. A second. So students can find them by searching Advanced Business Chinese, which is the name of the course. And here is there's a brief, you can see, there's a brief introduction to the series. And if the following, I already followed. So if they follow the series, they will receive notifications whenever a new episode is available. They can choose to stream them or download them, totally depending on their listening preference. And from the title, they should be able to, you should be able to see that right now there are two subcategories. One is called textbook audio, and the other one is a series called like authentic talks. Okay, students like the authentic talk series more. I think that's because they are related to, but not limited to what they were learning. Okay, and each episode start with a piece of short and pretty nice intro music. Now I'm playing authentic one. Let's see.
我是史钟奇老师。
Let me start from the very beginning. See. Give me a second. Why there's no sound? Textbook audio authentic. Let me try this one. Okay.
各位同学，大家好，这里是专门为高级商务汉语打造的 Podcast， 商业有道，赢在策略。
Okay.
我是
So this is a very quick demo of the podcast, of the sound quality. And also each episode is about it's less than 10 minutes because they might lose focus if they are too long. And after they listen to the podcasts, as you can see, so for each one, there's a quick introduction to this episode. And after they listen to the podcast, they can answer a few questions to check how well they have understood the content. I used Quadrix to create the questions. As you can see, there's a link here. If we click the link, it'll take you to a quick, like a self-assessment questions. Okay, we'll just use this as an example to see what they can get. So I just randomly choose the answer. Usually there are 5 questions for each episode. As you can see, they can choose their answer. I'm going to choose A for everything. Okay. Okay, they can also type in any question they have. Okay, so after they answer all the question, they can download the new words of the talk. So I already created a word list for each episode. Students can download this and listen to as many times as they want. And they can also see how, okay, we need to type a name. Okay, this is because we, okay. And students can see, oh, how many questions they got right or which one they got incorrect. Okay, so if they are not pleased with their score, they can re-listen and they can redo the questions. Okay. Another really nice function of the podcast is speed control. As you can see, if students find this the speed is too fast, they can choose 0.8. They'll be a little bit slower than before.
史钟奇老师。今天我们要谈的话题很有意思。
Still pretty natural, I think, for 0.8. If they want to speak, they want to go faster, they may choose like 1.2. There's some glitches, I think, here. That's fine. I think you get an idea. This is pretty nice. Okay, so this is a quick demo. For now, we already have more than 10, I think 13 or 14 episodes. Okay, broke into 2 subcategories. Okay, students can listen to as many times as they want. Okay, now I'm stop sharing this one and go back to my PowerPoint. Okay. So that was the demo. And next, I'd like to share some results of my pre and post surveys. Okay, so basically for this study, for this project, I had two questions that I was most interested in. The first one, do they listen more often after the project? Okay, so one thing that I need to clarify is that I did not assign them as homework. I just asked them to follow the podcast, and I want to see whether they would listen to the podcast when they were notified. Okay, so at the end of the project, I asked them again about how often they listened to the Chinese materials. So this is the first figure. Okay, maybe it was tiny, the one made was tiny. So in the pre, I asked how often do you listen to Chinese audio materials, any materials? Okay, that was because in the pre, I also asked them how often they listen. I asked them whether they listen to Chinese podcast, but no one listened to Chinese podcasts. Okay, so in the post survey, I asked how often do you listen to the podcast series, the one I made for them. As you can see, there's a very big change from blue to red. Okay, the red is the post. Okay, so basically everyone listened to them. Okay, 7 students out of 9 listen to them once or twice a week. One student said listen to 3 or 4 or 2 5 times a week, and one student says listen to the podcasts every day. Okay, and then I also asked them how often in the post survey, how often do they listen to Chinese audio materials other than our podcast, something else? Because I also want to see whether they, explore other stuff. Looks like there's also a big change, as you can see from blue to red. Okay, one student says never in red, meaning the student only listen to our podcast, nothing else. But there are 3 students that they listen to other materials once a week, once or twice a week, and one says listen 3 to 5 times a week, and 4 students says listen to other materials, okay, every day. Okay, so as from these 2 figures, okay, we could see not only did they listen to the podcast than before, but they also listen to other Chinese audio materials more frequently than before. This is very actually encouraging to me, as the students seems to start to develop a routine to listen to Chinese, not limited to the podcast. Okay, but of course I know the sample size was too small to generalize, but it's still quite interesting. Okay. And the second question I'm interested in is whether they found the podcast useful. And this is their responses. But besides this, I'm also interested in knowing in what ways they find them useful, because, and also I asked them what kind of content they liked or not like. Okay. I haven't completed the data analysis, but I will be happy to share them later. Okay. Definitely, as you can see, their feedback is quite positive, and informed by their feedback and motivated by their suggestion on the podcast. I'm planning for the LRC again to trying to produce a complete series for the entire course. Okay. Okay. What lesson have I learned so far? So creating podcasts may sound quite straightforward, as I once naively thought, but in fact, there are so many choices you have to make during the process. For example, you need to decide on the content, how long each episode should be, how fast you want to read, what words you want to keep or leave out. Do you want a monologue or dialogue? There's really so many choices you have to make during the process. But all the effort actually is really worthwhile, I think, because final products, the episodes, the cover, the music, everything, combined together make the projects, make the products kind of professional, using my students' words. I think this is what I want to share for today. we do have a few minutes. I think we can open the floor for everyone to, comment or ask questions about this project. And I do, encourage, everyone who is interested in podcasting to try it, to give a try. It turned out quite really, really rewarding. Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Zhongqi, for this inspiring presentation. Before we open the floor to questions, we do have almost 10 minutes for those. And then also, if you have questions to Guada, this would be the space to ask them. I just wanted to insert a shameless plug here. If you are interested in podcasting as a medium or as a pedagogical pedagogical material type, we have a series of workshops that were done a couple years ago on our YouTube channel that pretty much guide you through everything you need to know about podcasting, from the pedagogical motivations through how to make them, how to edit, how to cut, and how to deploy them. So I encourage you to check out our YouTube channel. And that would be it from me. Feel free to ask questions.
Oh, I forgot to mention this. I truly appreciate the committee's feedback on my initial plan, in which I said, when I was proposing, I said I aimed to create like 30 to 40 episodes for the course, but it turned out like 10 to 15 was a reasonable goal to reach for an exploratory project, considering the time and resources.
We do have a question from Maria Lozano.
Yes, hello, thank you. You mentioned that this podcast is for advanced students, and I was wondering, have you thought about asking them to produce podcasts themselves to share with other students?
Yeah. This podcast is good companion for the textbook we use. I know there are also many other universities in the US using the same textbook. So once we have a more complete, season or series of the podcast, I think I'm ready to share them with other schools. Yeah.
No, not to share with other schools, having the students make the podcast.
Right, that's my next plan. Of course, I believe that would be a really great idea to invite them to creating podcast. It's called like a students, run podcasting thing. That's definitely something I consider. Yeah, but I want to do like step by step, not jump over too fast. Right, but really that's already in my plan. Thank you, Maria.
Thank you, Maria.
Guadalupe.
Sure, go ahead, Patricia.
Yeah, I was wondering, how did you approach the people whose conversations you recorded?
As I said, just, I don't know, for instance, there was people, many of my conversations were recorded in parks or just squares and places like this. I approach people and just ask them, would you mind if I recorded this is for a project for my student, etc., etc. And then I just, if they said yes, which is not that frequent, sometimes they said no, of course. But actually I have to say that people in Peru is so nice. I have many, many conversations recorded there because they were the most open to be recorded. And yes, I just record and then they sign a form for so I can use the recordings.
Thank you.
That's it.
I have a question for Zhongqi. Thank you, both Guadalupe and Zhongqi, for your presentations. I've enjoyed them very much. And the thing I wanted to mention is I agree with a finding that you had, which is I think that one impediment to students doing listening is having to go and find the listening. somewhere in Canvas or in Panopto or somewhere else on a CD, it's just confusing. You don't know exactly which one it's supposed to be. You lose track of it. With a podcast, it just appears in your phone and it's ready to go. So, and also if you listen to podcasts already, it's something you do typically. So I think that's a really good point. But I wanted to ask two questions. One is, how many people are usually recording the podcast? How many voices do you have on a typical podcast? And also, if there were a more readily accessible, like setup podcasting studio for multiple people, would that facilitate you or maybe others doing podcast recordings?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Thanks. For now, I have one person speaking, recording the textbook, and then I do the authentic talk. But for authentic talks, I have one episode. I inserting someone else, which I got from online. A couple of sentences the person used, I think is relevant to the content. So for now, at least I have 3 different the voices. But of course, if we have more, students can get like more exposure to different voices. The way they speak might be different, which I think will be beneficial. But in terms of the, I'd be happy to try if when things is better, we can return to the campus, go to the studio at the same time, which might be easier to coordinate. Right now, if we do this online, that'd be really difficult for us. I mean, I'm not technology savvy, so it's really difficult for us to do this editing thing for multiple persons speaking, at the same time, or we need to. I don't really figure out how to do that more than 2 or 3 people at the same time. But I think for students, the most important finding for from the project is if you need to help them to develop a routine to listen to something, regardless whether there's one person or the same person repeating, same person or 2 different people or 3 more. So the first thing they need to make a change, right, is they need to spend time on listening. That's the first thing I definitely very gladly saw from the project, because they listen more, and they're not just limited to the podcast. They start from the podcast, listen to something else. They might realize, oh, this should be a part of their learning process, rather than just the textbook, grammar, writing, those kind of stuff, right? Yeah, but I'd be happy to try, inviting more different voices to speak. Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Thank you, Zhongqi. I think Stefan has one more question, and then we'll be moving over to our next presenter.
Thanks, Simon. Thank you, both of you. Really interesting projects, targeting something that we don't do a lot of, which is listening comprehension. We should do a lot more. I agree with Zhongqi that this is really a major part of learning a language, is listening to a language being spoken. I'm a podcast fanatic myself. I listen to podcasts all the time, and I really like the convenience of having the material sent to me so I don't have to look for it. But I have a question for Guada, actually. Guada, I was, maybe because I'm not a very outgoing person, I'm really interested in, how do you pick people? I mean, they look interesting. They seem like, I mean, you just go up to somebody. I mean, it's just amazing to me. And so the follow-up question with that is, do you have a lot of material that you discard because it's not good?
I do have a lot of material that I discard. And also I have a lot of potential conversations that I never recorded. Yeah, well, that case of this, the one that I show at the beginning, I don't know, maybe, well, Ramon had to left. Could be a very good idea that he share his experience. But in my case, I remember once, for instance, just I was in a hotel in Cusco, and I was just I was in the window, just looking to the square and downstairs, and just watching people talking there, just sitting there and spending their afternoon or their lunch break or whatever it was, just not hanging out. And from my perspective, my aerial perspective, I selected a few of them and just went downstairs and approached them. That's all.
All right.
And sometimes I just, in Lima, I have also a similar experience. We were waiting for a bus that never came. And in the meanwhile, I took the camera off and out and just approached the people who were just sitting around us. And they were very, very open to participate. The people in Peru is amazing. It's not the experience that I have always. And there's also, for instance, some clips that I have that I recorded in Brooklyn, that they were made in a summer afternoon, very hot summer afternoon. Everybody was hanging out, also because they couldn't stay inside the house. And people were just drinking and talking on the stoop, and yeah, that's all. And so I asked them, can I record? And said, yes, well, why not? Right.
All right.
That's it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Guada. Thank you, Zhongqi, and all the participants who asked questions. At this time, I would like to move on to our third and last presenter for today, Aleksandar Boskovic, who teaches Bosnian, Croatian, Serbian, and who will be presenting on an elementary Bosnian, Croatian, Serbian online workbook, which is a project that comprises a continuation of the work that the LRC has been supporting since spring 2018. And it proposes a creation of an interactive workbook that accompanies the digital textbook, and also proposes a website companion that sort of contains both these books. Together with the textbook, the workbook presents a comprehensive resource for teaching for a full academic year of elementary Bosnian, Croatian, Serbian, and it contains a lot of material for communication-heavy in-class work, together with automatically checked grammar drills and other written and spoken homework assignments, study guides, flashcards, interactive presentations, and chapter quizzes. But most importantly, it integrates materials into an interactive online environment that makes it available to learners beyond Colombia on terms of the Creative Commons copyright license. So with that introduction, I will yield the floor to Sasha Boskovic, who will talk about his project now.
Thank you so much, Simon, and thank you everyone for joining in. I have to just make a short disclaimer that my internet connection is not so stable, so please let me know if I come across as chopped. So today I will say a few words about this ongoing project, and I will spend the second part of the talk about this specific stage we are currently in with this project. So this is a very long project that I started in spring 2018, and I've been working with my colleague and graduate student Milica Ilicic from the Slavic department, who is very helpful with the entire professional adventure we had. This is just a few words about the language itself. So Bosnian, Croatian, Serbian is a language used in former Yugoslavia. These are three different language standards within one language. There is way more that they share than what differs them. So they're taught as one. And there is not many textbooks that are on the market. Actually, there is only one textbook written by a linguist, and it is very heavy on the grammar explanations, and it's not the great textbook to use in shared course initiative and especially in the teaching that uses the communicative approach. So the project that we had is to develop a new textbook and to develop a workbook and to put everything on the website. We started with the exploratory grant, and then we got so far 3 implementation grants for this project. Following this exploratory grant, the first implementation grant was addressing, first of all, the digital textbook. Some of the goals that we had was basically to use design to give a sort of more appropriate, more accurate portrayal of distinctions between these 3 standards. Then to add communicative exercises that will be appropriate for the instruction that we cherish here at Columbia. And then also to have visual clarity of grammatical material and exercise tasks within them. And I'm sorry, I've probably come across as chopped. Okay, maybe I can switch off my webcam. Also we were trying to have a model that will propose interactivity. The textbook and the workbook that will be visually attractive and engaging. And we wanted to adjust these materials for work in digital and long distance classroom setting. What we came up with is that we developed a textbook that used this color coding for 3 different language standards that has difficult grammar explanations basically illustrated visually, that each type of content has clearly visual identity and self-checked exercises. Also, we try to illustrate vocabulary and grammar. We try to use fill-in exercises, for example, visuals that would accommodate checked in exercises that you can type in the answers, and those would be able to check in class and also save immediately with the language companion themselves for the students. We use some custom-made photography like here, references to the existing textbook, and also we added some Bosnian, Croatian, and Serbian culture references, visual engaging images of the places, etc. This language companion has proven very successful. It was designed for the long distance learning in mind, and it was also equipped for easy use in digital setting. We have learned very fast that the companion provided can be so efficient in the classroom that it rendered the textbook that we used, that it accompanied, it rendered that textbook actually obsolete very fast. And enhancing the companion through reorganization and redesign, we understood that it would not only facilitate improvement of teaching at Columbia, but also will lay ground for the complete digital textbook of our own. So what we did is we talked how to move from learning companion to the digital textbook, how to reorganize lesson plans and language companion materials. And second 2 steps were how to develop interactive exercises that are accessible online and to move everything to the website. So these first 2 goals were accomplished with the implementation grant in its stage number 1. The second two goals are something that we did address in the grant starting from the spring 2000 and from the fall 2020, that is our last academic year. And this is the second stage that I'll just also stop sharing this and change to the different mode. This is the website that we developed that included both that includes actually both digital textbook and exercises, or the online interactive workbook. We have on this website, first of all, a little explanation about these language standards. We have also explanation how all these materials are open sourced, and they are free for using in other university if needed, but that's obviously the stage that will come after. We have a little explanation that this is, we called it a learning companion, but what it is, it's the full package for the teaching of elementary Bosnian, Croatian, and Serbian. All the people responsible for the project are listed here. We decided to divide the website into sections that will feature all the lessons, right? And these lessons will include in themselves both a textbook, digital textbook, and interactive workbooks. Two more tabs would refer to the old textbook chapters that students could have access to, and vocabulary that is also planned to be developed for each of the chapters. What we have did so far is that we developed for the redesign of the textbook, we developed 15 lessons out of 20. We didn't succeed to do everything. We did also develop a workbook for all the 15 chapters. We did develop vocabulary lists for only first 3 lessons, audio exercises that we plan also for only first 3 lessons, and the flashcards as well. Due to the COVID, the person who worked with us, we had some difficulties. I won't go in there, but let me show you, for example, how one of these lessons look. So what students can have access to is the very textbook and the whole audio exercises and exercises that include grammar, verb conjugation, that includes some of the syntactic exercises, right? For example, if you choose wrong one, it will tell you automatically, or if you choose the right one, you will get approval, right? And go further to do these exercises. If you want to do, for example, the verb conjugation, students are able to check their responses automatically and see what is done correctly and what is done incorrectly. They can check the solutions and retry working further in improving their what they retain, what they learned. There are also exercises that are interactive in a way that students are required to mark the words in a certain grammar form and check whether they did it rightly or not. There are exercises designed in a way that students can practice and check their knowledge of the cases, for example. There are more visually appealing exercises for this. This is like a lesson 3, so students are still interested in learning language visually, right? They could type for example, directly in this textbook what they see. Correct answer would be to say I have a telephone and not what is telephone. The question is what is this? This is, for example, you can type the right answer, what is it, and check. These images are connected to the vocabulary from the lesson, of course, and they all of them are made in relation to the very digital textbook that I will show you in a second. Digital textbook can be opened online, can be downloaded. Each of its pages is interactive, so the students can write and make the notes for themselves. Students can, for example, this is because I use it on my computer, is it what it remembers, but students can write and correct later on if they made mistakes, of course. They can save these digital textbooks in a format of PDF. Some of the exercises are also marked as correct and incorrect, so they can check them real time and automatically. What else? These are these images that I was mentioning. They are interactive, so that students can type in their responses, and we can use this interactive feature both in class, and they can do that both at home. The dialogues that we developed sometimes are followed with the audio exercises that are also features online. For example, now because I'm using headphones, you can hear, but if I change that, hopefully you will be able to hear. Whether this comes across or not. So audio exercises are there as well, and the students are required to listen them and to fill in the audio exercises that are in the textbook. All of these lessons that we developed are easily accessible, and they will be also there for the students after they finish their courses if they want to continue and work on their improvement of their language. It took us some time to develop these exercises and to upload them. We obviously did a much better work in the first 3 lessons that are completely finished, and there is a lot of work to be done with the specifically second semester that requires a little bit of more fine tuning. This second semester requires another kind of review of the materials. And we will need to finish the last five lessons, specifically including the workbook. What we hope to do is to add the more vocabulary lists, to also do more audio exercises that we did for the first 3 lessons. And also we were thinking of eventually adding videos, but that would require some additional planning, maybe for the future, because some of the students that I interviewed, how they liked it, they said that aspect of work they would appreciate. Let me just share one more thing with you, and I'll finish with that. So the whole project was implemented this year in the teaching, while we were developing it real time. And I think students were very excited and happy to have these interactive exercises available. And they regretted that we didn't finish them. And I did also a survey at the end of the semester. So one of students I want to play, I have the audio of his responses. Let me just switch my headphones. I'll play you his responses. I asked students, and this student specifically, what does the workbook, how much helpful it was to have these interactive exercises, and eventually what did he miss? So here is his response.
These are my thoughts on the online interactive workbook. I'll start by saying that I really do miss Nash Yazık. The website is phenomenal, certainly enhances my learning. The capability to enrich my memory, quite crucial in learning the language and has been incredibly helpful. I do miss it because for the past few lessons, we haven't had the interactive workbook, and I think the very is far more challenging. The exercises are easy to navigate. There are a few exercises here and there that have technical glitches. For example, if you bring the screen to a sort of half screen, some of the exercises do not show up, but that's really a minor issue. The ability to find vocabulary and textbook chapters on the online website was also incredibly helpful. The only suggestion I would have is perhaps you could insert more interactive materials, so videos and listening exercises. That's something that I do believe I miss, and we haven't had a whole lot of exposure to. Overall, I would certainly give the online interactive workbook a really high grade. Thank you.
This student was really generous. Generous in his response, and I would just say that he's a Cornell student, so he would be definitely a person if this semester this semester was, for example, taught in usual shared course initiative modus. This student would be a remote student. So I think from that perspective, it's also good to have a feedback about this project. I would say that we did think about this website way before COVID happened. And I would just say that it turned out that it was a perfect thing to have and perfect thing to have on disposal in the language instruction during the pandemic. And I think that all students appreciated it as well. However, I would just say it does take a lot of time. We did overestimate overall our abilities. We didn't foresee that there will be certain glitches, specifically with people that we worked with on this project. Some of them got COVID and it postponed a lot of work on it. So unfortunately, we didn't succeed to finish it. And I do hope that that we will be able to do so in the future. So I will just stop here. I hope you had chance to hear everything or most of what I said.
Okay, thank you, Sasha. I think we were able to catch about 95% of your presentation, so there's some moments where it glitched out, but very minor. With 5 minutes to spare, I would like to encourage you to ask questions now, if you have any.
Maybe a good chance I'll just share the link with everyone if you're interested to just glance over it.
That's very helpful. You shared it with me directly. I will paste it into everyone's chat box. There we go.
Okay.
I have a question.
Go ahead,
Alexander. No, I love your website. It's a really good work. I was just wondering if you deal somewhere else with culture, because you work on Bosnian, Serbian, Croatian, and so I was wondering if there will be, or you have somewhere else a component on culture.
Of course, yeah, that's a great question. We have in our digital textbook a lot of elements that address specific cultural differences throughout the region that are mostly related to religion and religious holidays, but in terms of language, they are expressed on a lexical level. And sometimes, luckily, not so much on syntactical level. So we do acknowledge, we do acknowledge both linguistic and cultural differences and specificities. They are present in the textbook. For example, we have a lesson on religious holidays. When we learn about greetings, congratulations, when we work on numbers and ordinal numbers, which holiday is celebrated, what are the phrases used to congratulate them or to host people. And we do address specifically, for example, in that lesson, these religious based differences that are important for that region, of course.
Thank you.
Thank you. I think we have a question in the chat from Chong. I will read it out. She's interested in creating a textbook as well, and she would like to know more about graphic design and things like copyrights, images. So if you can maybe speak a little bit to that.
That's a very important question. So we did talk specifically with Simon at the beginning of this project about this aspect. And our idea was to have materials that would be open source. And for something like that, we did have to take care of where do we source our images, our visuals. And luckily, our designer that worked with us suggested to use a resource that is also open. And most of the photographs that we made are done by either our friends or colleagues, and they are therefore not from the internet. But the design of cartoonish figures like you saw that are most drawn, that design is from the resource that is like open source. And designer helped us immensely with that. Photographs, again, are something that we do it on our own. Audio recordings as well. But that was something that we were thinking of for sure. Stefan, you had a question, and then Ilian.
Okay, go ahead, Stefan.
Hey, thank you, Sasha. Great project. Good to see you also. I wanted to, and I saw Chung's message, so I wanted to address this indirectly by reminding you that the Consortium for Language Teaching and Learning is hosting its annual symposium at Princeton this year on April 30th and May 1st on the topic of who owns the curriculum, the L2 curriculum. And the topic is really looking at recent trends in curriculum development that move away from textbooks, published textbooks, and looks at alternatives. What alternatives do we have if we do not want to use commercially available textbooks? So I urge you all to register and attend the symposium to get ideas about what other people are doing in lieu of using commercially available textbooks. I just wanted to put a plug in for that. That's it.
Yeah, thank you. I think it's very important also. One of the dimensions I was having in mind is talking to other colleagues throughout the United States about the resources that they use. And everyone was so happy to hear that there can be something online. Partially because of the situation of the pandemic, and partially because it's also a venue to share, right? So this type of website is useful because you can go, everyone who has access to it can go and add a new content. And I think it has potential to open up for some collaborative project as well.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you, Sasha. I am not, let me just see.
Elon, I think I have a question.
Elon has a question. Go ahead, Elon.
Yep, time. Sorry. I couldn't find the raise a hand button, so I actually raised my hand. That was weird. Thank you, this is really interesting. I'm also interested in creating some kind of official material, like, but so I wanted to ask you, well, for creating the beautiful website and materials, to what extent did you use existing materials that you had, and like how much materials did you have to create for the project? Was it mainly compiling or creating?
Yeah, that's a great question. I was hoping that it would be compiling. But along the way, I mean, things change in a way of their execution. There are limitations, right? What can be done, and one of the main reasons why we did another iteration, we redesigned the entire textbook again. One of the reasons was that initially we made it to fit the shared course initiative whiteboard, which is, for everyone who taught it there, it's very big. And now we had to think about, okay, we need something that would fit to tablet, to the laptop screen, which is much smaller, not to talk about iPhone. So we had to redesign everything. And during that redesign, we kind of get rid of the materials that we, during the compiling earlier materials, included in the first place, and we had to kind of develop new ones. For the workbook, definitely we were inspired by some options that we didn't foresee before. So we specifically developed materials for workbook that are that were new, that were not planned in advance. So yeah, I would say both. And it also depends on time. At the beginning, we were so excited. And then when all the things happened, we were like, let's just finish what we can. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Elon, for the question, and also to everybody else who asked the questions and who contributed. Many thanks to our presenters today for the inspiration, for the good projects. It is our hope that it served you as something that, is helpful, interesting, inspiring, and then, maybe you will take away an idea or two from this presentation. It is 5:05, so that marks officially the end of this event. If you need to go, you're more than welcome to do so.